Black Monday has come and gone, and openings have opened. And as we have heard, a few more may be on the way. In a unique first time for Scouting the League, we will split the episode from a full Black Monday analysis of the jobs that opened and what is being heard across the league to an on-site recording on Tuesday from Orlando, Florida, and the 2025 Hula Bowl. We briefly discussed the now vacant GM role in Tennessee and what could be coming there, plus Hula Bowl operations and the week's outlook for Neil. We bring you what you want and need in the quickly moving world of football here on Scouting the League. Everyone, and welcome to Scouting the League. Before we jump into what is essentially a two-part episode here, let me remind you to make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast wherever you are listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Megaphone, or on our home over at Fans First Sports Network. A 5-star review goes a long way. If you like the video portion as well, check it out on YouTube at Scouting the League. There is where you can find both today's show as well as a good number of our previous episodes. Your subscription to our YouTube channel is essential, so whether you love the video portion or just want to support us, head over there and subscribe. Some great film on there on episodes with Dane Brugler, Jordan Reed, as well as highlights and things to watch with Eric Stokes, Dane Vandernat, Eric Galco, Jose Jefferson, and so many more. And as always, comments, notes, suggestions, and of course, disagreements are always welcome in whatever form you choose to get them to either Neil or I. Speaking of Neil, joined as always by the man who is inside the league, Neil Stratton. Neil is at Inside the League on Twitter, on X, InsideTheLeague.com is his website. And do not forget about his blog, SucceedInFootball.com. If you are at the Hula, go find Neil, or if you're going to be in Fort Worth, make sure you head over and find him there. I am Rodrik David, former NFL scout for the Falcons. Thanks to the Fauci jab, spent a year with the Titans as well. Now here with you at Right Step ADV is where you can find me, as well as my website, rsafootball.com. Neil, let's take a swing around the NFL. Unfortunately, Black Monday this week as teams finish up their seasons. We've already seen a couple. We've hit Monday this week as teams finish up their seasons. We've already seen a couple. We've hit it a couple weeks ago when we talked kind of in depth about a number of these. Let's start in Indianapolis. Head coach, GM, Ballard, they both get the nod, get the statement of affirmation. They're going to be there. Same thing in New York with the Giants. John Mara keeps Dayball and Shane. The Jaguars, they go the maybe slightly surprising route for now to keep the GM, Trent Baalke. They let go of Doug Peterson. The Patriots moving on from Gerard Mayo. There is a lot of angst about that front office, regardless of what we think of Elliott and crew. Again, a good front office. It looks like they're going to be there for now. Anything on those before we jump into kind of some of these other questions? Again, some good people staying, some unsurprising ones moving on, and maybe, again, still some more movement.
For those that read our newsletter on Friday, the Giants are one of the finalists for best draft, and I think Joe Shane's done a good job there, certainly on the draft side, and just getting that quarterback situation correct, getting the obviously the Barkley situation kind of blew up in their face, but I think here's a guy that's very highly regarded going into his job there. He's had kind of some bad luck on timing and things like that. I guess I applaud the Giants for kind of taking the long view and being a little more patient. Same's true with the Colts. Again, another former Best Draft Award winner. I think Chris has done a really good job there. They were another team that got a lot of consideration when it comes to Best Draft Award. So I'm glad that Irsay kind of sent out a long social media post talking about how he's more committed to looking long term, and while he's unhappy, he wants to be a little more patient, I guess. And I give him a lot of credit for that. Jacksonville, I heard it came down to a power struggle between Peterson and Baalke, and it looks like Baalke won it. I don't know necessarily that we've heard the last there, but for now, it looks like he's safe. There are other teams, of course, where things are still a little bit more up in the air.
With just hitting on Jacksonville for a minute, that seems to be a job where a lot of people are saying most attractive job. You've got an owner that spends money, albeit as we've talked about analytically or the way the ownership is involved. Again, it's a little different structure. But there were a lot of people saying, with a grain of salt, Baalke will affect who wants to come down there and coach. The rumblings had been that they were going to allow Trent Baalke to retire, and the way the ownership's statement reads is it was going to be collaboration with Trent. So maybe Trent isn't ultimately going to hire the GM. Again, there's a lot of different ways you can peel that and read between the lines and see the statement. It's a good job. You've got Trevor Lawrence for the maybe underachievement that you would say in a lot of ways. He's still a starting quarterback in the NFL. You're happy to have him, and you're going to win a lot of games with him. Do you see Trent Baalke staying in place as a detriment to getting the right coach?
I don't think so. It's really hard to try to delve into the mind of Shad Khan. I mean, he's done some unusual things. You see his embrace of playing overseas, and that's not necessarily negative, but it's a little outside the box. We've already talked about previously on this show how their analytics people work on the business side as well as the team side, which is pretty befuddling to me. So it's an organization that isn't afraid to kind of go its own way, and maybe this is just another example of that. I haven't seen any names that have been posted about speculation on who's going to replace Peterson. Of course, it's pretty early, but I'll be glued to it because, like I say, it's a team that kind of does things its own way and may have someone highly unconventional on their short list of candidates.
Yeah. Again, any of the 32 jobs, again, at the end of the day, you're going to be pretty happy to get one of those. Staying in division, the Colts. Again, you talked about the patience. That was a patience move. Anthony Richardson was a patience draft pick. This seems like a Jim Irsay seeing, again, there were some flashes from Anthony Richardson. Again, for all the inconsistency, everyone knew when they drafted him that was going to be the case. You've got an offensive coordinator, head coach, and Shane Steichen that it took a little bit of time with Jalen Hurts too, and before he's come over. So for the Colts, again, you like NFL franchises to, have some time, have some patience, and following the Anthony Richardson benching and then reinserting. Again, it seems like maybe they push the right buttons, that they are headed in the right direction. So really good to see that. And then kind of same thing in New York with the Giants. You've got to hit on your quarterback now. And that's when it's going to come down to in a year with really two guys. Again, if you listen to some people, Jackson Dart maybe is going to start tiptoeing around quarterback 3 area. I believe Giants pick number 2, locked into that number 2 spot. So if they like either or both of those guys in Cam Ward, Shadir Sanders, one of them is yours. So again, it comes down to, in that situation, maybe 2 more years. You almost have to think of it in 2 more year situation where if you draft a rookie quarterback, you've got to see some signs. As long as it doesn't completely implode, at least one of them should be there in Shane or Daboll long term.
Well,
so that'll all be
the other way I look at this. I think maybe the lack of blue chip quarterbacks in this draft is one reason why we're not going to see as much movement as we have. If you're obviously when you're talking about taking a quarterback in the first round, you're probably looking at changing over your franchise and really going in a different direction. We don't only have 2 guys that we see as as much sure things as you can find, and given that, maybe franchises are saying, let's wait, and if we're going to make a change, let's give someone the chance to bring in their own quarterback and really maybe have a Texan situation when what the guy with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, or a number of other situations where a team really turned it around quickly. If you're going to have to be patient with a quarterback, I guess you might as well be patient with a GM and the head coach, especially given the fact that there isn't those guys out there that look like tremendous game changers in the draft.
Yeah. I think any franchise, any fan base would be happy to have a Texan situation with D'Amico and CJ. And again, that's kind of where you'd go. The Patriots one, again, I think anybody that listens know we both think highly of Elliott Wolf, and it's the Gerard Mayo thing went south in a hurry. The heir apparent to arguably the greatest head coach of all time. Plenty of rumblings last year about what went down, how it went down with head coach Gerard Mayo. Even 3/4 of the way through the season, it seems like he was getting the nod of confidence. They have the quarterback of the future in place in Drake May, and the way Joe Milton played, maybe you're going to move that draft pick up and send him away somewhere and increase your value. Again, credit to the front office for taking Joe Milton where they did. An attractive place, a place with winning culture, but a place that has some questions, again, as they continue to restructure post Bill Belichick. Again, the waves are going to be there. Many times you don't want to be the one that follows the one. You want to be the one that follows that one. And it may hold true here for the next head coach of the Patriots.
Reading tea leaves, it seems like Mayo was kind of the guy that Kraft liked from early on, and maybe Belichick liked, but maybe Elliott didn't like, maybe Alonso didn't like. When you bring in a new GM, obviously that kind of changes things. And Elliott was on staff, but until Belichick left, he wasn't the guy. So I think that probably has something to do with this. I don't think that Gerard Mayo got dumb in 1 year. They certainly have thought highly of him for a long time. But maybe given the fact that they think they have found their quarterback, they want to bring someone in early on who can really work with him and try to further develop him and do those kinds of things. We've talked about continuity of scheme and how that is a big struggle with quarterbacks, especially when they're developing. But maybe if it's this early on, if they bring someone in who's really excited about May's potential and the direction of the team and can really put him in a situation where he can win, then maybe it is the right move. It's going to be fun to see. Again, it's another team where it'll be fun to see who gets interviews and who gets interest, given the fact that they do look like they have their quarterback there.
Yeah. Again, having the quarterback in place makes everything a lot easier. Patriots are number 4, correct? That may be a prime.
I didn't look before I got on here. I should have.
I believe they're at number 4. I believe that win, again, reset everything at the top. I believe it is, let's see here. Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars at 5. If you're sitting there at number 4, you may be looking at the best player in the draft in Travis Hunter, which I think Drake May would be happy to have him. Again, the other one, Tetairoa McMillan, again, a fantastic target for Drake May. Or if you go the other side and the rise of Abdul Carter, the edge. Yeah. If you can rush the passer, you're going to have a chance. Sure. So, again, if you're the Patriots, you're in a decent spot. Come being number 4. A quarterback falls, you can trade in, trade out. Again, not a bad spot to be overall for the Patriots. So that kind of leaves us with some of the question marks. If these teams that kept one or the other, usually if you're firing your head coach and your GM, it's all happening in one day. You're resetting it all. You're starting the process. So again, Trent Baalke's still there. Again, whether it's a retirement, it's not likely they're going to move on from him in a firing way. Again, if he chooses to walk away, that's going to become more evident through the process. Same thing in New England. If Elliott, Alonso, any of that front office, high-end front office was going to go, it was probably going to be at about the same time that Gerard was by today. Again, we're recording this Monday. It's going to come out as the news hits. We've got some more teams that we've been talking about. Nothing has happened at this point. That doesn't mean it's not going to. Raiders, Titans, the Falcons, who missed the playoffs again and really, really struggled down the stretch. We got the Dolphins, and not only are they going to be dealing with the Chris Greer questions, GM, you've got Tyreek Hill situation in the way that game ended. The Jets are still making their rounds. The Browns and Bears seem to be set as the Bears, walk it off to end the year. And then the Saints, do they need to be thrown in there? What are you hearing either on updates on those teams or bringing your team, New Orleans into the fold?
Well, I think Chris Greer is safe in Miami. That's the impression I get from my sources there. I think with Mike McDaniel still there, it would be a little premature again to make that big switch. And one point we haven't made on Jacksonville that I think is pertinent more and more now, if you bring in a big head coach, I mean, Rodrik, you and I are kind of the subscribe to the model of the GM kind of hires the head coach and those kind of things, but that's not always how it goes in the NFL anymore. And if you've got a big head coach like a Mike Vrabel or someone like that, he may want to bring his own guy in. So I think it's still kind of written in pencil regarding Balky. If Vrabel wanted to look and say, hey, listen, here's a team that's got a head coach. We're drafting high. There's, I said head coach, quarterback. We're drafting high. It may be a good situation to walk into. Then maybe they do make a change there. So I don't know that it's necessarily done there. It just seems like it for right now. I think Greer's safe in Miami. I think that's probably the right move. There has been a mild speculation in New Orleans. Mickey Loomis is safe there. He's heading the head coach search. He's well into that. I think all indications are that that's not even an issue at all. Andrew Berry's safe in Cleveland. What other teams? Let's see. What else?
Ryan Poles in Chicago.
Ryan Poles, I don't have a good indication yet there. It does look like Rand Carthon is safe in Tennessee. So it looks like, generally speaking, we are not going to have the kind of changeover that I was maybe expecting given the speculation that we were hearing over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I guess it's, again, given the fact that there are game-changing quarterbacks, it's not like, a year where you've got Kelly and Marino and Elway. There's not, maybe just not an appetite for changes and kind of a more of a wait and see from the ownerships across the league.
Neil, I'm going to put you on the spot here. In a year like this where we don't see the high-end quarterback talent that, again, is going to possibly, and I would say probably drive change organizationally. Hey, we've got to reset everything. It's our chance to go get it. Over the years, though, you're going to consistently see 5 to 6 head coach or GM job openings in a year. This year, where we'll see, again, maybe about the normal average of head coaches, we're going to see less front office positions. Does that mean in 2026, a year from now, we're going to see a higher number? Do the numbers bear that out? Or is it the pendulum doesn't quite swing like that on the front office side?
We've had 2 quiet GM cycles. It was pretty quiet last year. I mean, I think we had 4. I mean, is that correct? And that includes Belichick, who is head coach GM. So I don't know. Maybe this is an indication of an appetite that the owners are getting a little bit more patient. I'm not sure about that. And I go back to, it also comes down to, are there big head coaches on the market who come in and that swing a big enough bat to where they're going to be able to dictate a change at GM? I think that it's kind of it's a little bit of both, but we've seen obviously that some teams go into rebuild mode and they stay in rebuild mode. There's no guarantee that if you make those changes that everything's going to work itself out. Everyone's looking for that quick fix and that overnight change, and it's not always the case. Right now I don't know if there are any market forces out there or any real indicators that tell me that we're going to start seeing more stable GM situations. I guess it's really kind of a year-to-year thing. To me, it's really more like the weather. There's just so many conditions out there that kind of dictate things, and I guess maybe we're on a more conservative swing right now, but it could change at any time. And I don't have any anticipation towards next year, other than the fact that we've got a lot of guys that we thought were in trouble that apparently have not been, that apparently aren't, but maybe they don't even last the season. I mean, you were in a situation where the head coach and the GM got changed out. What was it, week 6, week 7, something like that?
Week 5, yeah, something like that.
So early. So it can happen at any time. And if you want to get ahead of the hiring cycle, you're probably wise to do it rather early. But I don't know. I mean, I thought this was going to be a really volatile cycle, and I was wrong. It looks like we'll have to see if that changes. Now, we still could see some senior leadership changes, if not the GM, and quickly. We've seen, I think Monty Austinford in Arizona changed out most his front office he had that done by the middle of February, I believe. So
Mhm.
we'll still be monitoring things, certainly, especially during January and February, the All-Star cycle and what have you. So it's certainly far from done. There still could be some heads rolling, but maybe just not at the GM level per se.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, those lower level positions, your assistant GM, your DPPs, your directors, again, fully expect to see those. For those that aren't familiar, you're more than likely, even these teams that have change at GM, you're going to keep the majority of your, especially lower level staff through May, through the draft. Again, draft at the end of April. You're going to give them that evaluation time. Also, they're in a lot of ways, your source, your information. So again, unless there's some of those kind of either higher level or, hey, just they absolutely know the change is going to be made, you'll see some shuffling around.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think about with these teams that are keeping people, keeping GMs, again, using Tennessee as an example, we talked about Brinker, kind of his Rand Carthon's kind of co-guy. Where do responsibility lies? Do you lose as a GM? Hey, we're keeping you, but we're shifting final say of the 53 over to here. Or, hey, head coach, you're no longer reporting to GM. Both of you are reporting to the ownership. That has been something that has changed over the years. It's evolved. You see ownership getting more involved, or, hey, I am going to be the final decision maker. You both are, you're both reporting to me. You need to be on the same page. You're reporting to the head seat. Again, you and me both probably go back traditionally. Head coach reports to GM reports to owner. Nice, easy, linear reporting structure. Oh, I don't know if there's many organizations that quite operate like that. Again, outside of Tennessee, do you see reporting structures changing? Again, I know the Jacksonville situation, that was one that was mentioned where, again, it's going to be everybody reporting to the owner.
Well, the one thing I will say about Tennessee and Rand especially is he rebuilt that scouting staff in the last offseason. And the hires that were made by Rand, and the changes that were made were dictated by Rand. So my sense is that the football decisions are still being made by Rand Carthon. Now where it all works out in the decision structure between Brinker and Carthon is something that I don't have a full grasp on. And I'm not sure that the ownership does either. It just seems like there's, I don't want to say chaos, but I think there is some, I don't know, ill-defined lines when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think I don't know if there's a power struggle per se, but if I was a GM, I wouldn't want to have a Chad Brinker where I had any questions about my authority or anything like that. And so I don't know. It's really unclear, and it's a difficult situation to diagnose. But again, going off of last offseason's changes, those were all Rands. So I have to think that going forward, that's going to continue again, unless we hear something or I hear something different. So far, I haven't. So I still think he's in good shape football wise. I don't know exactly. I don't know where it ends, and I don't know if it's going to change. But I think for right now, at least, he still has all the iron when it comes to making those kinds of decisions.
I think we'll certainly get a sense of exactly where he falls into that. Titans have the number one pick. You need a quarterback. They are going to be out front starting, last night. And so we're going to see plenty of Rand Carthon. We're going to see, I'm sure, plenty of Amy Adams Strunk, the owner, Coach Callahan. And again, perhaps somebody else, or a shifting of who we see as it goes through it. We talked about patience with keeping people, again, getting the vote of confidence. There's one team that we haven't mentioned, and I'm going to surprise you this one, the Dallas Cowboys. Again, we all went into the year thinking that it's got to be Mike McCarthy's year, getting a deep run in the playoffs for him to keep his job. We haven't seen anything. We haven't even heard a ton of rumors out of Dallas. Maybe the decision hasn't been made yet. Maybe Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, the front office want to hear more. Is there an element of ownership giving anybody, front office or coaching staff, a chance to make your case this week. Instead of it being truly Black Monday, you've got 1 week to make your case, to basically re-interview for the job before we make a change, to show me why you need to be here. Because again, that Dallas one was, again, is disappointing and underwhelming year as kind of you expect across the league. The Cowboys did absolutely nothing and were out of it fairly early. Is that on Mike McCarthy? And again, he seems to be safe at this point.
It is interesting. It seems like Jones has been pretty non-committal so far, which really surprises me. I kind of thought he would want to have someone to kind of be the scapegoat for this season. But, the fact is the defense struggled. The running game was, up until the end of the season, pretty much non-existent. And then having your quarterback missing most of the season certainly doesn't help either. I mean, I honestly, I think given all the circumstances, they performed decently. What, 7-10? Is that what they finished at? I don't have the record in front of me.
Yeah, don't have something under 500.
Yeah, under 500, well out of the playoff race, of course. But I don't know if there's a boy wonder out there that's going to come in and fix things, and maybe there is. And I'm sure Jerry Jones is certainly weighing all those things right now. Mike McCarthy, what you see is what you get with McCarthy. I think he's a great offensive mind. Sometimes he's had his struggles in the playoffs, but I think he did about as much as he could with what he had this year. And maybe Jones is, again, taking that longer look. I don't know that he's necessarily safe. I don't know that anyone does, except that's not last name Jones. But at least for now, I guess I applaud Jones for taking a longer look. But I can only speculate on what's going on in Dallas.
Yeah, again, for all that and big as Dallas is, the fact that we haven't heard it a little bit louder, maybe that speaks to some of these other franchises that have been even more dysfunctional than they have. But again, obviously a disappointing year for Dallas. Unfortunately, as we know, there's going to be more news on job vacancies. Like we said, if it's not at the highest levels, it's going to be at the director level, the executive level. So we will continue to, track those. I heard it say to me this weekend, necessary but not welcome. Again, that can be even within your own franchise, an acknowledgement that some of these scouts have. Again, a new direction, a new philosophy, a new voice, new culture. Sometimes it takes a new person to instill all of that. Again, you just turn around, look at Dan Quinn and Adam Peters in Washington. You find the right quarterback, and again, you've got a really good football team that, again, delivered a death blow to Dallas this last week with their backup quarterback, Jaden Daniels, not playing. So, again, if you're a team like the Patriots, Raiders, Titans, any of these other teams that are going to have some kind of change, again, that future is maybe a little closer than you think. 1 year turnaround in Washington when they looked like they were at least a couple years away. So either way, Neil and I here for all the updates and analysis and bringing you everything on what we are hearing. Neil, here we are. It's now Tuesday. You are on site, Orlando, Florida, at the Hula Bowl. Before we get into all things Hula Bowl, we talked at length yesterday about a number of these spots. One of them that we talked possibly coming open has now come open. The GM of the Tennessee Titans, Rand Carthon, has been let go. I would say fully expected. We were honestly surprised it hadn't come down by the time we were recording yesterday. They have announced head coach Brian Callahan will remain, and Chad Brinker is going to be leading that GM search. Again, a team with the number one overall pick. As owner said, the wins and losses have not been nearly where they needed to be after 2 years with Rand. What are you hearing? Either GM leading candidates, what direction they're going to go? Obviously, really new in the process, but what's the sense you're getting on the ground there?
Well, it seems like word got out in the organization on Sunday this was going to happen, although it wasn't publicly announced till today. I've heard that some of the scouts received it positively, I guess would be a good way to put it. And maybe they're looking for new leadership there. Now, as far as what direction this is going to go with Chad Brinker, I don't know. I mean, I know that he's held highly within the team, but I don't know if they're going to kind of have maybe a dual role where Brinker's kind of the salary and that kind of stuff guy, and then he brings in a kind of a football guy. I mean, I think Brinker can stand on his own 2 feet. I haven't had a chance to do enough research on this to really know, and haven't had a chance to talk to anyone about what direction it could go. But I have heard talk to people speculating about who he might bring in from Green Bay. He has a history with the Packers, and they've got a very talented front office. There are a number of people that would be great candidates if they decided to come, but I think we're going to need a little bit more clarity on exactly what the leadership structure looks like, which in all fairness, Taran Carthon may have been a difficulty for him to overcome as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have remarked to me, why is Chad Brinker above Rand Carthon on the website? And I don't have an answer for that. And I don't know that anyone does. It's a unique structure, and one that I haven't really deciphered, and I think I'm not the only one who's kind of been confused by that. So I think there's still a lot to be determined there, and I think it'll be interesting to track that, but I don't have those answers, and maybe I will after another day out here talking to people, but still a lot of haziness, still pretty opaque when it comes to the Titans situation.
Yeah. Couple things I'm thinking about with this one is with the league rules like they are, and with the way it's going to be structured, if it's not a full GM title, there are GMs across other teams that are going to be able to block that interview. Again, if it's not a promotion in the NFL, again, whatever GM has the option to either let you interview and pursue that job, or again, without maybe even your own knowledge, again, you may not even get that interview. So how they structure the authority, the decision making, that exact title is going to be interesting in terms of what they're allowed to interview, who they're allowed to interview. And again, maybe that suggests there's names on the outside, or again, one of the things that I thought about with the role that Chad Brinker is in now is he interviewing himself in some ways to essentially gain the full power of the GM seat? Who knows? I don't know. Again, indications are that Chad was not lobbying for this, that he was not pulling for this, that he wasn't backstabbing, as you'd say. But again, there's so much, I guess, unknown still, so fresh on this one. Again, we talked about it at length yesterday, and now we're here giving the updates. So
yeah,
by the time we record next week, I can't imagine we'll have anything maybe other than names they're getting lined up. I'm sure this will be at least a couple week process for them to get through it. But again, maybe we'll have some indication with the way that title pans out, who exactly and kind of what exactly role that person they're going to be bringing in. So the Tennessee Titans, they'll be busy in Nashville. They'll be busy there in Tennessee. Down in Florida, though, you saw weigh-ins. You're getting ready to go to practice here today. What's the mood like on the ground? Hula Bowl kicking off the All-Star game season.
Right now it's cold. That's the mood. I felt like the Klondike in the weigh-ins room today. I don't know why they had the AC running. It was 40s, I think, which is not something you normally see in Orlando, but weather's unpredictable. It's warmed up a little bit. I'm about to go out to the practice field. We're about to have the first workouts of the day. So, and I actually see the sun, which is more than welcome. So excited about that. But weigh-ins were this morning, pretty standard stuff. A few guys kind of looked beach. Some guys, didn't as much. I applaud the Hula Bowl for continuing to have weigh-ins. They're very helpful. They're not, in my estimation, exploitative or anything like that. I mean, it just gives you a good idea of kind of, who these guys are from a physical standpoint. Obviously, you get their heights, their weights, and their arms and their wings and all those kind of things. The only problem today is because of the weather across the Midwest, especially, you had a couple guys that didn't show up, and that's not uncharacteristic of weigh-ins. As you know, Rodrik, there are always 2 or 3 people that, just don't make it in time. And so, but other than that, pretty standard stuff, pretty routine. The facility, the Grand Caribe, is awesome. And I believe there are 209 scouts registered. So a good representation of the NFL is here. A number of teams have 4 to 5 scouts here. I think I noticed the Eagles had at least 4. The Niners had 4 or 5. They're not the only ones. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. So a lot of teams making commitments here as far as how many people are here. And The players they're evaluating, as far as the schools, obviously heavy P4 representation here. All the major agencies, the ones you would kind of expect at a kind of a number 3 All-Star game. A lot of established firms and a sprinkling of newer ones as well. So, from a business standpoint, from the standpoint of just running these games and going to them for more than 2 decades, not a lot of surprises, but wasn't expecting many surprises. Scott Phillips is in his first year as executive director, is doing a great job. So all blue sky here from an operational standpoint. We're about to go find out exactly what we're going to see on the field. So that'll be exciting to watch, and about to get started on that.
Yeah, and that was my next question. With new leadership, with Scott taking over, is it noticing any difference in the way things have been run so far? Or is it, hey, Hula's had their, again, if nothing else, they've had their format, their itinerary. You basically pick up what the previous leadership has done and kind of keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, and Damien did a great job, obviously, before he stepped down. I expect tonight will be a beehive in the lobby with hundreds of more than 100 players literally interviewing and hundreds of scouts, and it'll be par for the course when it comes to All-Star games. And then we'll be back tomorrow for more workouts. I believe they're only in pads today and tomorrow. Don't quote me on that. Maybe a little bit on Thursday as well. I think that'd be a little ambitious for an All-Star game that plays on Saturday, but I'll be wheels up on Wednesday and then headed to even more frigid Fort Worth, where they're expecting 14 inches. This is Texas, Rodrik. Someone's got to do something about this. This is my home state. I mean, if I'm not wearing shorts in December and January, I'm pissed. So I guess I'm going to be prepared to be pissed.
Yeah, well, we'll get some of these Southern guys maybe getting to play in the snow for the first time. Yeah. I remember years in CGS where it was pants and T-shirts, and you were probably hoping for shorts. You were wishing you had a pair of shorts. And I remember a year where nobody brought enough layers. Yeah. You're trying to find corner to stand in out of the breeze. Again, it's Texas. There was always going to be a little bit of a breeze, but you never know what you're going to get, kind of like a box of chocolates. But again, the scouts will be out there. The scouts will be in full force, checking everything out. Neil will be wheels up, as he said, headed to Fort Worth. So we will, next week, we will get the full analysis. Who were the guys that popped for you? I'm sure you'll get a sense of it from the agents that are there, from the scouts that are there. I'd imagine some of these scouts maybe shortly behind you, heading from the Hula in Orlando on over to Fort Worth for the CGS. I'd imagine Jose, Mike, the whole group has everything lined up and everything's ready to go. I know players are, I know agents are going to be heading there as well. So enjoy practice. I want to get you out of the warm car that you're in now and get you out into the breeze watching practice. So Neil, thanks for the updates. Enjoy Orlando.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rodrik.
Well, that does it for us in this special 2-part episode. Like it, dislike it. Again, let us know at RightStepADV, at Inside the League is where you can find us. Agents, before we go, make sure you go check out Agent Live 360. It is at agentlive360.com for everything you need for your agency, from players to coaches, managing profiles, tracking invoices, sending invoices, getting paid, keeping up on every element of your entire agency. Notification emails, file, folder, storage, ROI, transactions, invoices, calendar, contracts, teams, reps, everything all in one spot for you. That is Agent Live 360. Hop on, request a demo. Yours truly will hop on, walk you through it. I can promise you we will talk some football as well. Sign up now with code TRIAL90 for a 90-day, 3-month trial at just $10 a month for Agent Live 360. That's at agentlive360.com. Go check it out now. Thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on YouTube at any of our homes. Be on the road, be at the All-Star games, be scouting.